Good morning, monsters, and welcome to Monsters on the Edge. I am your host, Barnaby Jones, the founder and lead investigator for Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. And if you are not checking us out on YouTube, you're missing out. Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, spirits, and the metaphysical? How about Mothman, Bigfoot, and other cryptids? What about UFOs, UAPs, and other anomalous phenomenon? Then you need to check out Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We have all that and more. Watch our series, Caps Road Trip, where we travel across the U.S. in search of these phenomena and bring you not only the history of these locations, events, and encounters, but evidence that we capture along the way. Alongside our team of researchers and investigators, you never know who will be joining in on the investigations. Are you interested in Bigfoot in Upper Michigan? Check out Finding Hyden, a series documenting the Sasquatch activity on a very special 80-acre property just outside of Menominee that has been a hotspot since 2012. Want even more? Check out our podcasts. Whispers from the Dark is the official podcast of Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society, and brings you interviews with the top names in the field of paranormal to cryptids and more. Hear witnesses' accounts and go in depth with the CAPS team to hear more about our ongoing research. Are you more into cryptids? Find links to our all cryptid show, Monsters on the Edge, on the Untold Radio Network. If you're into spooky, subscribe now and you won't miss a minute of our brand new series coming soon, Spirits of Macville. Follow along as we uncover the haunted history dating back to 1877 of a very well-known location you may have never guessed would be haunted. Head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button and you won't miss a minute. Awesome, guys. Yes, Spirits of Macville is coming, and coming out in January is Spirits of Menominee. We have a 3-part series coming out of all paranormal stuff that we captured in downtown Menominee, Michigan. And if you want even more, guys, you can head on over to Paraplex. Paraplex Paranormal Plus is a all paranormal streaming service similar to Netflix and all of your other favorite streaming platforms. It is all cryptids and paranormal and weird stuff, and you can find us on there on the Trail of Undiscovered Beasts. Season 1 is out. It is all about Bigfoot in Wisconsin. Use promo code CAPS10 to get 10% off your first 3 months. If you want to show your support for everything we do here at Cryptids, Anomalies at the Paranormal Society, you can head on over to our website and click on Shop Our Store. And there you will find t-shirts and hoodies and sweatshirts, magnets, stickers, mugs, tote bags, tank tops, pillows, and more with our logos on it. You can wear it, show it, and show your support. While you're online, make sure you head on over to all of our social media platforms. You can find us on Wisconsin Caps at Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, and WI Caps on Instagram. And if you're interested in Bigfoot in Upper Michigan, my new book, Bigfoot is Hyden, is available now on Amazon. You can find it, Bigfoot is Hyden. And it is an amazing 248-page full-color book documenting over 10 years of Bigfoot activity on an 80-acre private property. If you guys want to hang out with us in person, we are going to be at the Hodag Heritage Festival in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, coming up in May. And we are going to be at the Marinette Menominee Bigfoot and Paranormal Convention June 1st in Marinette, Wisconsin. And that does it for CAPS. If you want to show your support for all things here on the Untold Radio Network, here's how.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned, plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
Awesome. And I want to thank Jennifer Arnold for supporting us today. $2 donation here for the Untold Radio Network. Thank you so much, and we definitely appreciate it here. Keeps the network running, and all of us here on the air for you. So thank you so much. And now, today we have a special guest on here. Her name is Sybilla Irwin, and she currently resides in South Texas. She prefers and is most comfortable in an outdoor setting, camping, hiking, and kayaking and fishing. She is a former special education and art teacher, and she is an active field investigator and resides in an active habituation site for the past 5 years. Her passion is working with witnesses who have had a close encounter with beings that are not supposed to exist. It is her belief that working with these witnesses helps them cope with the memories that are forever etched in their mind and gives us a detailed forensic type glimpse of exactly what the witnesses have encountered. Her goal is threefold: to give witnesses a voice and a platform to share their experiences, be an advocate for witnesses who have sometimes had their lives shattered, and to build a catalog of beings that are being encountered. And now, if I can click the right button, welcome to the show, Sybilla Irwin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here today.
I am happy to have you. As we were talking before the show, I'm a little tired today. I've been working 12-hour shifts, and we did a paranormal investigation last night, and I was downloading all the stuff, so I'm a little frazzled still this morning. So thanks for bearing with me, you and Sybilla and everybody in the comments.
You're welcome. I don't know how you do it. I would, like I told you earlier, I wouldn't be able to put a sentence together if I had to do it.
Well, I'm not doing that well, so.
Well, kudos for
welcome
you.
to the show. You come highly recommended was the words that I was trying to get to before when I was talking to you. Dan Nadrello, one of our guys on the comments last week as well, had his encounter sketched by you, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing all about what you got going on. And we're gonna show some pictures for if you're listening on a podcast platform. Excuse me. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure you switch on over to our YouTube channel, and you can see along. We're going to put some pictures up in that and talk about that as well. But Sybilla, tell us about yourself and how you got into all this.
I hate to talk about myself.
Well, pretend you're somebody else and talk about them. There you go.
Well, she's kind of this weird chick. No.
There you go.
I'm a mom. I'm a grandmother. I started doing research. I think I found the BFRO website in 1999 or somewhere around in there, and I started reading reports, and I was just fascinated. And I've always been fascinated with the unknown and the mysterious. You know, some of us are just wired that way, where those things that are unsolved and maybe even the unknowable just fascinate us, and we want to know more. And I remember as a kid, there was, there were many books that kind of went into unexplained events, that people had, weird tracks in the snow that didn't match anything, and people were seeing weird things and strange stories, and those just fascinated me. And, here I'm my age now, and I'm still absolutely fascinated with those stories and from hearing from those witnesses and about the things that they're encountering. Like I said, I have three kids and they have grandchildren, and I'm living with my mom and being a support person for her. And I have a fabulous life. My kids are nearby mostly, and my son and his wife, we go fishing a lot. And I just have a fantastic life, and I have so many friends and supporters. I mean, some of them are in the chat right now. Shout out to my friend Al. Thank you for being here. And he knows he's contributed a huge deal to the reason I have a YouTube channel right now. I also was a special education teacher for 10 years and kind of got out of education because I didn't like the way it was, I didn't like the direction it was going. And I just didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And as soon as I got out of teaching, I went straight into living on a habituation site in northern Kentucky for 5 years that had a 25, 30-year history of Sasquatch interaction with the family that lived there. And that was a truly fascinating thing to be a part of. And I learned a lot about, well, I kind of thought these were just kind of a flesh and blood kind of creature, that, and I had experienced, glowing eyes, and I'd experienced, some of I hate the word woo, but some of the more paranormal aspects. I'd gotten hit with infrasound multiple times, and but when you're living where they live and they choose to interact with you, it is absolutely fascinating the things that they do, and I understand how these things can be living on property, on ranches and farms and around people, and those people not notice or not know what's going on around their place. Because what these things do are so incredibly subtle that if you're not paying attention, you just won't notice some of the very subtle things they do unless you're really, really paying attention. Like if you're photographing certain things, like I had a little communication center and a little feeding center. And like, for instance, there was a little green frog that I had multiple, like maybe 3 green frogs. I see Mark Richardson is on. Hi, Mark. Mark is one of my most favorite witnesses on the planet. So great to see you. So there was these little green, like a squeak toy green frogs. I'd gotten 3 of them, and I would place them in different areas and just on the property. And sometimes they would go missing. Like one of them would go missing, and then it would come back, or it would go missing. And I had 3 and kind of got down to 2. And one of them was down at the feeding station, and I'd usually put something down there, at least check every day. And the frog would be moved. It would be in exactly the same place, but it would be moved like a quarter turn. But it wouldn't be flipped over or anything. It would just be turned. And so I would photograph it and I'd put it back. And then maybe a couple of days later, I'd come out and it would be turned facing the other direction. Just very subtle things. But if you're not paying attention, you're not going to notice the really subtle ways in which they communicate with you. It's fascinating. These beings are fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have had similar encounters with little Hot Wheels cars where they'd get moved every time. And now one just completely went missing on the property that we're working.
Yeah.
And we took a metal detector out there, looked for it, can't find it. So it's absolutely gone. But
sometimes they'll bring stuff back.
Yeah.
Like I've had like there was one thing that never came back. I made a bunch of cookies, and I took a bunch of them out there and put them on one of those really pretty Fiesta plates. It never came back. They kept that. But like even paper plates sometimes would come back. Like sometimes if I had, because I would take food that was, like leftovers. They love pizza, so I'd always have pizza leftovers. So I'd take pizza and maybe put multiple plates, and then the next day it would be gone. Sometimes the whole thing would be gone, plates and all. And then I'd come back, and then plates would be put back in, like the ones that because I would usually use multiple layers, and sometimes the plates would be put back that weren't, they didn't have food on them. I mean, it's a fascinating thing. And peanut butter, I mean, I was putting peanut butter in the crate for a year before they actually started taking it. Yeah.
When I ask my guests, every week, how'd you get started in this? I always kind of feel like this is a terrible question because like I've been on so many interviews and stuff, and people get asked it so many times. And we got a comment here. It says, Sybilla, I think this is the first time I've ever heard you speak about how you got started in the research. So I'm glad, because now there's always got to be somebody out there who doesn't know who my guest is or doesn't know who you are. And that's That's great
Yeah.
because it puts you in front of new people. So I'm glad that we got a chance to cover that. And
Well,
Charlotte,
I found the BFRO website, and then of course I started reading all the reports, and I read all of Texas reports, and then I started reading all the surrounding states reports. I mean, I just devoured them. I just stay up. I'd find myself up till 2 in the morning. Just one more report. I mean, it's crazy. And then what I noticed is how amazing it is that, I mean, this was back in 2000, early 2000s. So for all these years, I'm just reading reports, but you're noticing how someone in Washington State is describing a specific behavior, and then someone in Florida is describing exactly the same behavior. And these people aren't talking to each other. They're just reports. Plus, there's a lot of I became a BFRO. Well, in 2005, I think they started having expeditions, and I said, well, if they ever bring one to Texas, I'm going, and I don't care who goes with me, I'm going. And so, sure enough, 2008, they announced they were doing an expedition, and I couldn't get anybody to go with me, and so I went by myself, and it literally it changed who I am. Like I was a teacher, and I was not real happy, but I was doing what you have to do to make a living. You're single parent, you got kids. But when my boots hit the ground there, and I set up my tent, and I started gathering firewood, and I started meeting all these like-minded people, and then we had these Sasquatches literally just coming into the camp at night, like opening ice chests and leaving footprints in the snow, because we had a whole bunch of snow, which was a crazy thing to happen in North Texas. Matt Imps just joined. Hey, Matt. He's Planet 412, guys. This is one of my witnesses, and you guys are going to be seeing his sketches like really quickly, and you are going to love them. Anyway, so that experience on that expedition literally changed my molecules. Like I felt for the first time in a long time, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. I don't know if you've ever had an experience where you feel that way, like something happens to you, and it's suddenly you feel like the light bulbs are going off and all the bells or whistles are going off in your molecules are vibrating because you're so excited that I really felt like this is my path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And even my kids notice, Mom, you're different, because I came back a changed person from that experience. So I joined the BFRO, and I became an investigator, and then that's when it got fantastic. That's when you're picking up reports that nobody else has read, and you are getting to speak one-on-one with that person. And there's so many reports, guys, that have never been published, because at that time, they just weren't publishing stuff about the paranormal. And a lot of people were having a tremendous amount of paranormal stuff going on. And so, I kind of understand, people really come down hard on the BFRO, and I understand why, because there's a lot of aspects to it that I have problems with. But it's not the people, it's not the investigators, because investigators are just volunteers. We don't get paid. You're literally just devoting all this time to, trying to flesh out as much of this, of their experience, and then publishing that. They're good people. Most of the investigators that I've met for the BFRO are fabulous people. Now, there's going to be bad eggs in every organization, but anyway, that's how I got started with the BFRO. And then how I got started drawing is an investigator from Wisconsin. He was on the first expedition I was on, found out I was an artist, and he called me one day and said, hey, can you do this woman found something that's kind of close to what she saw, but the hair is wrong, and could you possibly fix it? And I said, well, sure, I'll try. And so that's how I got started. It was just initially working, doing a sketch for one of Bernie's witnesses. And then I, kind of just thought, man, that's what a perfect blend of my art skills and, working with people is to start helping them recreate what they saw in great detail, because I'm kind of anal about detail. And these things don't want to be photographed, obviously. So why not try to recreate them, the best way we can? And so that's how I got started.
Awesome. I think we got to get to your art because, you're talking so much about it here. Let's hold it here.
Yeah, yeah.
And by all means, if there's something here that you want to talk about specifically, we can go to that one. There's a couple here that I found really interesting. Now, this one right here obviously is not a Bigfoot, it's a dog man. So, you do more than just Bigfoot sketches. You do dog man, and I also saw right here we have a Mothman.
Yes. And that is the woman. In fact, I just saw her story again on a show recently. Her and her brother were in the car, and this thing landed on the hood of their car and was looking just right in at both of them, and then it flew off. But I worked with her, and what an incredible experience. And they were young. I can't imagine. My heart always goes out to these people. At least other people saw the Mothman, besides just her and her brother. But so many of these dog man witnesses, and Sasquatch too, but I find the dog man is just so much more terrifying than most of the Sasquatch encounters.
They have a lot more teeth, sharp teeth.
Yeah, and they seem, most dog man witnesses that I've worked with have basically said they thought they were going to die, or if that thing gotten to them, they like Matt, who is in your chat right now, they were literally, I think, just moments away from being killed. He was with four boys together, and they were in an old abandoned steel mill, and they were up on the third floor, and this thing was coming up the stairs up to the third floor where they were, and was right there. And literally, they were just moments away from being killed. Yeah.
I always think about that. We have the Beast of Bray Road here in Wisconsin, and we've gone out. My team has gone out investigating that a couple times in different dogman areas, and we're walking around at night in these areas, going, "What the heck am I doing? Like, why am I here?" And you really hope that like all these stories are made up and that you're not going to see anything, and it's just a story. And then all of a sudden, the corn rustles, and you're like, oh, maybe it's not a story, and
it would Barnaby, it would happen so fast. Like someone could be standing right next to you, and in a heartbeat, you'd just hear a flurry of steps, and they would be gone, and that would be the end. I mean, you wouldn't. There's no rescuing people who would be taken by one of these things.
No, I believe you. This one fascinates me. This picture here, because you always hear the stories of the like spider crawl and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
And that's basically what this man saw. This is a very dear friend of mine, and is also a witness that I worked with from Oklahoma. And he's seen multiple dogman, and he's seen multiple Sasquatch as well. And he was in his front yard, and he was speaking with, I think it was his ex-wife, and he has dogs, and I guess the dogs ran to the fence line and were barking. Your dogs, when they start barking in weird tones. And so he shined a flashlight. Oh, I think the thing he did, she asked him to do, because he had heard what he thought was a baby Sasquatch, like crying or making a sound. Mm-hmm. And she asked him to do that sound. And so he did. And then, and then kind of all hell broke loose, and she left. And then he had a real high power flashlight, and he shined it right out by the fence. And this thing was advancing like a really fast on him. And he said it almost looked like it was swimming. I think if you go to my Sketching Encounters website, you're going to hear him. Actually, you can actually see him telling the story of this thing and its motion as it was coming towards him on its fingertips and everything, and the red glowing eyes, and terrifying. I mean, and the speed of which this thing is moving is so frightening. like the speed of it, and it looked like it was ticked off, like it was mad. That's the thing about these things. They can be upon you in in just a split second. Your whole life can change. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people always say that they want to see these things, and there are so many people that have these encounters, and they see it like cross the road or on a trail or stuff. I know you got some pictures like that as well. Like here's one like
Yeah.
running down a trail at somebody, and
Yes, they were being chased. Yeah, they were literally being chased. This is a day broad daylight. It was in fact she said it was at noon. Her and her father were in Yellowstone, and they had just gotten there, and she was they haven't even they haven't really unpacked that much, and she was making lunch, and this bowling ball size rock comes flying, just barely misses her head, and she looks up, and this thing is really close to her, and it's mad. You can see the other pictures of its face, and she makes her and her dad make a dash for their yeah, there you go. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it's terrifying. Yeah, so this thing opens its mouth and screams at her, and so they make a dash for their car, and they start heading out of there. Rocks are pelting the car as they're leaving, and this thing chases them down the Forest Service road. Can you imagine? And she was only like 17 or 18. I mean, she was really, really young, and they left everything behind. Whatever was outside of the car, it stayed outside, and they went straight to the like the Forest Service, station, and they basically just kind of laughed at him and told him, "Oh, it must have been a bear," and you know, they were furious. They went back to, they drove all the way through the night and went back to California. That's where they're from.
where more Sasquatches are.
But oh my gosh, I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, my point I was trying to make here was, like you have all these encounters, and so many people realize, like they get followed out of the woods or something by one of these creatures, and they're really freaked out, and rightly so. But you got to realize that, if this thing wanted to attack you or wanted to do anything, it would have. And a lot of these times, maybe they're just curious or interested, and you definitely have these more shocking encounters. But
Yeah.
wow,
And there's some peaceful ones too, where the Sasquatch just appeared to be curious and wanted to, watch what they were doing. Yes, this is Mark. Mark's in your chat room right now, and you can go to my channel and hear him tell his story, because we did a part 1 and a part 2 with him, because he wanted people to know about the lead up to his encounters with these 2 creatures on his porch one night. And because they were doing the same kind of things I was describing earlier, they were leaving gifts for him. He didn't realize at first what. He just thought there were some strange coincidences. There was incidents with dragonflies, and with stuff being left on his porch, and little things being tossed at him, little acorns or pine cones and stuff. This is a little female, and I think she's beautiful. I mean, I think she has a beautiful face, and there's kind of an up close of her face as well. And look at her. I just think she's beautiful. And she obviously wanted to show herself to Mark. And when he first saw her, and now he watched her materialize on his deck. Like he heard their voices first. He was asleep. His bed was right by a huge picture window with no curtain or anything, because he lived way, way out off the grid, by himself. And he heard their voices, and then the boards on his porch were creaking, and you could tell something heavy was on his porch. He could actually feel it through the floor. And then he sits up and he looks, and he sees this strange thing kind of forming right in front of his eyes. Like she materialized. She had her back to him, and he was just looking at her. She was kind of in a ball, and he's just seeing her back and her beautiful, beautiful hair as she's materializing. he's watching her materialize. So that was the first thing he saw. And then he I guess the boards creak some more, and he realizes, he sticks his face right up against the glass, and he sees that there is this male, like he sees its leg first, and it's, it's there just pressed up against the side of his cabin. And then I guess when the Sasquatch realizes that Mark has seen him, then it literally just steps right out and shows his entire self to Mark.
That's incredible. All right, we are going to take a really quick break here. We are chatting with Sybilla Irwin from Sketching Encounters and taking a look at some of her artwork here that she's drawn from different encounters, from Bigfoot to Dogman to Mothman. And if you have any questions, we got some in the comments already. I'll get to just after this break. But definitely, if you are just listening to this on a podcast platform after the fact, definitely go check it out and see some of this art for yourself. And you can see it all at SybillaIrwin.com. And that's awesome. So we'll be right back.
Show your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our show's knowledgeable hosts and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
All right, guys, we are back here. Thank you so much, Charlotte J. You are a Super Chats member. And again, we had the donation earlier. Thank you guys both, Jennifer, for your donation as well. So a couple questions here. Our first one, have you ever considered writing a book about your experiences and the drawings that you have?
Yes, I have. And I have a lot of support for it. Albo's Albo's been trying to get me to do that for years and years. I think I would love to do that. I just don't know where to start, and I get real intimidated with all of the. I'd love to do kind of a coffee table book that has all the witness sketches I've done in full color, along with the stories of working with these people and what I've learned from them. And I will do it. And thank you, Jennifer, for your awesome comment. I will get to it.
Awesome. Might I recommend Doug Hychek's publishing company, Hanger One Publishing? He does a lot of coffee table books, and he's the guy that runs our network here. And he's put out a lot of really cool books like Michael Friedman's, and he's definitely be able to help you out if you're ever interested. So awesome. Just throwing that out there. There you go. Didn't pop up. Did you ever report the woo? The BFRO left out of the official report?
There are a lot of reports that are in the database that, like back in 2008, when I first started working on reports, there were reports that, so here's an example. There's a report of a man in Bandera, Texas, that, I don't know, like 10 o'clock in the morning, and a friend of his was driving his truck because he was exhausted. So he's in the passenger seat, and they're leaving Bandera, Texas, which is not known like as a hotspot. They take this like old, there's a lot of, in Texas, in a lot of small towns, there's a lot of roads that hunters use to get to their leases. So they make this turn, and traffic is backed up on this road, and they're looking at each other like, oh, well, how odd, and oh, there must be some kind of an accident or something. So traffic's moving really slowly, like this 10-something in the morning. Traffic's moving really slowly, and he says he looks up ahead and he sees something walking, and he says, well, he's trying to figure out what it is. And at first he thinks it's a homeless person carrying like a bag or something, and and what he notices is that these cars get right up next to it, and then they like speed away, like their tires screeching and hauling ass, away. And so he's thinking, and as he gets closer, he says, wow, it's got like this man's wearing a fur coat, and wow, this man's got massive he's barefoot, and he suddenly, as he's getting closer, details are being revealed, and then this man realizes it's got this animal across its shoulders, and it's either a massive hog or deer. And when it comes his time to get up next to this thing, and the car right in front of them does the same thing, looks out the window and then screeches its tires away. So they get up right next to this thing, who is literally walking on the side of the road. And the man who filed the report, he says, I looked out the window right into the face of this thing. And he said, it's looking kind of down, but it's got this kind of a freakish smile on its face. He said it reminded him of Jack Palance. The face did. And he said, and then he said he felt something like his heart, like it affected his heart and his breathing. And he just started yelling, get out of here, get out of here. And he was screaming at the driver, get out of here. So they did the same thing everybody else did. They peeled away. And this thing is just, so it was a fantastic report, and the man drew a fantastic image of this thing carrying this animal on his shoulder, and I knew that because I knew it would never be published. And I told the man that I was working with, I said, this will never be published, and I'll tell you why. Because the owner of this website would not believe that a Sasquatch would be walking on the side of the road at 10 o'clock in the morning carrying a deer. Like, he'll just never believe it. So those are the kind of things that, and there were other things. Like, there was a great story, and what I want to do, and I guess I feel like I have to ask permission first, but I would love to go back into the database and just my reports, just the reports that I have, that I assigned to myself, and publish those reports, or put those reports in a book. There was this man who, nobody's ever heard this story. You guys are the first ones hearing this story. There was a man who became a wildlife biologist, and I think he became some kind of like a park ranger. And he filed this report, and this experience had happened to him when he was younger, happened to his mom. Like, when they were kids, his dad was a trucker, so he would be gone for long periods of time. And they had some kind of a cellar, and they accidentally left like the doors to this, because they used to play down there, and so it was like their cave. So him and his sister, they forgot they left these doors open, and this Sasquatch, I guess the mom was doing the dishes out of the kitchen window and saw this Sasquatch standing there by the farm. There was a light out there, and she started screaming. And then this thing ran under the house, like it went into those doors and ran into the house. And this nobody's going to believe that back in 2008 that could happen. But anyway, this happened way back in like the 70s. I think this actually happened. The Sasquatch started pushing up on the floor, like where they were standing, like it was pushing up on the floor and bouncing like their mom. Like, she was on the phone calling the police, and they were bouncing her. She got so terrified that she got her husband's pistol and literally started shooting through the floor of their home. I know. See, nobody's even heard that story. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stories. I know there's UFO reports where people have, that just, if it had any kind of woo in it, they just, and here's why. Like, for those people who don't understand why the BFRO took that position. I mean, it's a lot harder to understand now, 2023. But back in 2008 and before then, I think they started the website in 1999 or 2000, or maybe 1995. It was hard enough to try to build a website and make it scientific, because that's what they were going for. They wanted to be a research organization. And at that time, the investigators were highly credited. Like, master's and PhD scientists, and that's who started the BFRO. I mean, that's who, Matt started with, were highly credentialed people. And so they wanted to make it, and they wanted all the data to be driven by science. So that's how it started. So you understand, back in the day when they were trying to build credibility, they only stuck with, because Sasquatch and Bigfoot was not what it is today. It was not on most people's radar, so they were trying to build credibility. So anything that strayed, you guys, especially you guys that are younger, you're growing up in a time where this stuff is much more common and talked about. And there's channels and all sorts of shows and, Facebook groups. Well, none of that was around back in that time period. So he was trying to build credibility. So I kind of understood they were just trying to keep it as scientific as they could. So, times have changed, and maybe, some of us could get those reports published now. Maybe. Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And it does, because, you hear a lot about, David Politis as well does not like to talk about Bigfoot, because he says that, if he comes forward and says that Bigfoot kidnapped, your family member, that stops a lot of people from wanting to come forward and take him seriously and
Right.
ask him for his help. And it makes sense with the BFRO as well. If you're trying to establish that this creature is real and you want the reports, and you're saying, well, I saw one manifest out of thin air, well, everyone's going to think that you're crazy, and
Right.
that you're just putting out whatever, because all these crazy stories about these mythical creatures. And
Yeah.
to take it to a more scientific level and only focus on those reports, it makes sense, even though it completely
Right.
hinders the actual research and stuff about this. So yeah,
It
thank you
does.
so
It
much.
does. Oh, you're welcome. And especially for those people who out there who have had uh, the paranormal. I don't even think it's paranormal. I think we're just, our science hasn't is still it's in such a metal box that doesn't seem to be to expand, and all of these things are happening outside it that are absolutely 100% real, for because I've experienced them too. So I've experienced all sorts of things moving on their own, right in front of you. And it's obviously there's a force moving that thing, but that I cannot see. But that kind of stuff was happening for me as a kid. So my paradigm is different than most people, but and times have changed, unfortunately. And that's one of the things about the YouTube channel that I want to do, is I want to give those people who have had the paranormal experiences along with seeing a physical creature. I want to give them a place that they can share their story and be believed, and support them, so that other people who have had the same experiences will feel comfortable coming forward and saying, yes, that happened to me and I experienced that very same thing. And, thank you, because maybe now I'll feel more comfortable to talk about what happened to me.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for the people, like you said that you're doing this as part of, to help people come to grips with what they've seen and stuff? What can you tell people that are out there listening right now that may have had a very, scary, traumatizing encounter, whether, it's their view of what happened and stuff? What advice do you have to them? Do you have any resources or anything that you advise?
Well, absolutely. Get in touch with me, because I would be happy to give you an ear, an empathic ear, that I will listen. And a lot of times it helps you to speak to someone who believes you. And also, if you got a good look at this thing, it seems to be very cathartic for people who, like some of these people, some of them in the chat room right now, they've had these images literally burned into their mind. And I mean details burned into their mind. They can tell you exactly what they saw. Down to like the wrinkles, the wrinkles or scars that they saw, or patches, or any anomalies with their teeth, or, it's burned to their mind. It may be 40 years ago that they saw this thing, but they can tell you in great deal, just like it was yesterday. So it seems to be cathartic. It seems to help get that image out of your head and onto like a, a piece of paper, or where you can turn that image now and show someone, this is what I saw 40 years ago. This is why I no longer hunt. This is why I don't fish anymore. I mean, this is why I don't go out at night or feel comfortable camping by myself. There's some hunters I've worked with who've told me I'll never feel 100% the way I did before I ever saw this creature. And a lot of them have told me they wish they've never, ever had the experience that they had. So for some of those people who are fishing, they have these experiences, you really might want to rethink that, because it changes you forever. There's like a no return. Like once you've seen, a 9 or 10 foot creature that weighs upwards of 800 to 1,000 pounds, you can't unsee that, and it changes your psyche, and you may have nightmares like Barry, the man who that spider crawl man from Oklahoma. He was having nightmares for months and months, and then he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat, and then we started working together, and then it helped him. Like he started finally being able to sleep at night. Yeah.
I do not mean to make light of any of this, but I have a question. I wonder if this is like for anybody who has no, hear me out. Anybody who is familiar with like the Harry Potter series, right? There's a creature in there called the Bogart, and it comes out and it manifests as your scariest, the thing that you fear the most. And the way that you beat it is you ridiculous it, and it turns into this thing wearing a party hat or something. Have you ever done something like that with one of these sketches, where you take this image that's ingrained in somebody's head and make it ridiculous, so that it kind of lightens the emotional impact, where they can see it and kind of like ease it a little bit, like to say, well, okay, maybe I can let this go because it's not as scary as I remember it being. Does that make sense? Have you ever done anything like that with this?
No, I haven't ever done that, because my intention always is to get the most accurate version of what they saw. That's like and like Matt will attest, and so will Mark. I tell them, I don't care how long this takes. I don't care how many iterations it takes. If it takes 6 months to a year to get these sketches right, that's what we'll do, because it's my promise to them, and they deserve that after what they've been through, to have the best version of what they saw. And some of these people will tell you what they saw was almost cartoonish, like it's they're shaking their head saying, that can't be real. What I saw can't be real. So it's already so unreal that, yeah. I mean, if they want to take it and turn it into that, and that makes them feel better, like they should do, they can, it's their artwork too. They can do whatever they want with it, but no, I haven't purposely ever tried to lighten the load. It seems to just, having it out of their head seems to maybe lighten the load a little bit.
And by no means did I mean to say that you cartoonized or whatever anyone's thing, because I think your artwork is amazing. But I was just wondering if you've ever, after you get it done, have like altered it to help somebody get over it. But yeah,
no, I haven't. And I mean, if they asked me to, I could maybe.
I'm trying to think, like for some of these things, like you said, some of these are so traumatizing, and to be able to look back and laugh at it is a lot of times very helpful with these situations. And it's just kind of,
that doesn't seem to be so. That doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, they may get to a point where they're sleeping better at night, or maybe they can eventually go hunting again. But I don't think I've ever had a witness laugh about, really, unless something comical happened during the episode itself. But yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I definitely see, like, I've had some weird encounters with things, and being able to see it again and hear that description helps a lot, because it brings it, did you really see what you saw? And then being able to see it again in this representation brings that forth, and yeah, that's exactly what I saw. And it's definitely definitely awesome that
Well,
you
and
can
I
do
think
that.
that's a pretty normal thing for when you see something that's not supposed to exist, that you either say to yourself, did that just really happen? Or and then you start second guessing yourself, or you try to make that creature something else. Like you say, was that a bear? Was that a dog? Was that a, like everything? And then of course, it wasn't. But sometimes you try to talk yourself out of what you saw. I mean, that's perfectly normal as a human being. Kind of a self-soothing technique.
You talked about some of these witnesses saying that they're very bizarre looking or cartoonish when you see them. I've heard a few reports of the dogman creatures that people
Yes.
claim to be two-dimensional, like a flat image of it. Have you heard any of those stories?
I don't know, Matt. You can chime in. Did you ever feel like your dog man was two-dimensional? Um, I think for Matt, it was the size, of this creature is just outlandish, and the speed with which it moved is incredible. Um, the creature he saw was at least 10 feet, maybe 1,000 pounds, and it's just. Well, you guys are going to be seeing it. Matt and I are going to be releasing his video pretty soon. And you guys are going to actually get to see what Matt saw when he was 14 years old. And it's terrifying. I'm not going to lie. I mean, him and I, lots of times we're working on it. And because Matt and I will get on Zoom and he will help walk me through, because um, I've been drawing Sasquatches for a long time. And so they're not so difficult. But the Dogman is very difficult for me to draw. And especially when you're doing, the full-on version where it's looking straight in the face is one thing, but when it turns sideways, his dogman doesn't look anything like what these other people are, like the drawings that you see, the AI drawings and stuff of dogman. When his dogman turns to the side, it doesn't look anything like what you guys think a dogman looks like.
Interesting.
And Matt has commented there if you want to look at his comment.
Is that Planet 412 again?
Yes.
Okay. It says, such a damn shame, Barnaby, but that is the unfortunate truth right now. As Sybilla said, the younger generation is much more open to the woo, so to speak. It has helped me deal with mine better. It is not a pleasant thing to recall ever, but it really does help. Absolutely. Awesome. I've talked with a lot of researchers on here that deal with the trauma of this afterwards. I know I talked with Anita Collier about that and her work talking to different researchers as well. And Rich Daniels also does a lot of work. He wrote an entire research paper, or not a research paper, but a paper on encounters and reports, and absolutely, there's a lot of people out there. We talked with Anita about going to different conventions and just meeting like-minded people, because so many people think that they're alone, that this is, they're the only person that's in this, because they don't want to look into it. They don't want to go online and hear more stories and stuff. And then all of a sudden they realize there's more people that had the exact same encounter as them. So.
Well, it's the sense of isolation, because so many people, they take their encounter to the people that they know and the people that they love, and they're either laughed at or they're, told to shut up and don't ever talk about that again. And so, that's horrific. I mean, maybe more so now, but back in the day, there was just no support for these people. And that's one of the first things I started noticing when I became an investigator and I started calling these people or filing reports. Man, you would get them on the phone and they were so thankful and so happy to have someone to talk to that believed them. And they would tell you over and over again, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for just listening to me. You don't even have to believe me, but thank you so much for listening to me, because I haven't been able to tell my story to anybody. And that's just tell you, I just feel so alone in all this. And I feel so changed by it. I can't look out into the woods the same way. What do I do? And, they're just literally on their own. And back in the 2008, there wasn't resources, for that at all. There was no Facebook, I don't think, in 2008. There's nobody to turn to. if the people you loved made fun of you. And I was working at the museum in Georgia, the Sasquatch Museum in Georgia, with David Becerra and his wife, and the numbers of people that, I mean, in the thousands that would come in like weekly and tell you, well, you're the second person I've ever told that story to. It would shock people if they knew how many people, I mean, still to this day, are not reporting their sightings.
And that's
These creatures are not scarce. It's just people don't report. They just don't tell. They're not going to go to some website, most people, and file a report. They're just not.
That's one of the things you hear over and over of these skeptics out there. The people that don't know these things are out there. They say, well, if they were out there, there'd be more pictures, there'd be more reports. Well, there are. I tell them over and over again, I have seen stuff that would make the Patterson-Gimlin film, look like a cartoon image. Like there's images out there that people have on trail cameras and dash cameras and stuff, and they don't want the ridicule. They don't want their story out there. They don't want their name out there. They don't want their images out there, and all this stuff, and it exists. But yeah,
and it's gotten worse now. It's gotten worse now with the whole AI thing, because people can look at it and just said, "Oh, well, that's created by AI."
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating.
Absolutely. It's not AI, it's SI, Sybilla Irwin. All this art created by Sybilla Irwin. There you go.
Well, I don't use AI. I don't use AI.
No, I know you don't. Yes.
And I won't use AI. I don't. And I understand, but it's putting a lot of artists out of business. And artists are struggling as it is to make a living. And then you got AI doing book covers now and doing thumbnails for everybody now, and it makes me sad.
Here's another comment here. You can't tell anyone. If I told you what I know, it would cost someone I love dearly a wonderful high-level job. There's another very good example of some of the stuff that's out there.
That just gives me chills. I'm so sorry, Kay. Yeah. I'm so sorry you had that experience.
I've had 2 Bigfoot encounters, first in 1987, age 15 in Ohio, and second 1990 in Alaska, age 18. See, there's a lot of people out there. We are coming up on the end of the hour here. I have a couple more questions here if you want to go over them real quick here. Looking forward to our collaboration, John says, on
Awesome.
Legend Meets Science 2. We got that. A lot of people are looking forward to your book, so you got to get that done. Want autographed copies. There was a lot of comments about that. Sybilla has the most amazing stuff in her store. Just so happened to have my favorite shirt on from there. There you go.
Aw, thank you, Steve.
Awesome. Sybilla, have you ever been asked to do police sketches?
I looked into that, Matt. Back when my children were a bit younger, I thought, well, maybe this would be a way to make a living, is to work with the police officers. But there was only one university, and it was in Florida, that was offering a degree, and that wasn't a possibility for me at the time, so I couldn't do that. And I did contact the San Antonio Police Department and ask if they had ever used sketch artists, and he said that they really don't. They use more like computer generated stuff, and so I just didn't seem like it was something to pursue.
Very good. Here's a lovely one for you. Is you are the nicest person in the Bigfoot community.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer, for your kind words. I sincerely appreciate all of you that are here. Yeah.
Another one here. Nice. Started a collection of autographed Bigfoot books, so you need one. You definitely need to write a book. Everyone in the comments wants your book. And this is your friend again. He says you've been working with you for over a year, and you're getting exactly it as exact as possible. You go above and beyond what anyone would ever do to get it right.
Oh, thank you for your kind comments, Matt. I love you, dude. I love working with him, and he had the most atrocious no 14-year-old child should ever have to deal with what him and those 3 boys went through that night.
We have a lot of comments here, but I thank you so much for your time. I think we've got through all the questions at least. If anybody has a last minute question, get it in there right now, and we'll try and get it in before the end here. Where can people find you? Are you going to be at any conferences coming up? Are you going to, tell us about your YouTube channel, all that stuff?
It's just called, my YouTube channel is called Sketching Encounters, where you actually get to see the people who have had this encounter, and then they tell their encounter, and then we show the artwork that we've created that illustrates their encounter. And then they can find me at SybillaIrwin.com. I'm also on Facebook, so you can find me. And if you've had a close-up and you would like, of any creature, I don't care whether it's alien or, I don't care, anything that you would like me to try to recreate, just reach out to me at SybillaIrwin.com and just go to the, just the section that says contact me, and then that goes straight to my Yahoo, and then I'll reach out right back out to you, and then we'll get started. So I'd be happy to help anybody, and I don't charge witnesses for their sketches. So
very good.
It's free.
Awesome. Definitely awesome work. I think we are all dried up on the questions over here, so that's good. Thank you so much for your time. You are definitely highly recommended and highly loved in the Bigfoot community, and so it is my honor to have you on the show and share some of your artwork. And hopefully this episode has helped a lot of people out there that may be going through something, and just looking for some help and somebody to listen. And it seems like you come highly recommended from all the people that have worked with you. And like I said, you were recommended to my show by people that I know. So it's awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for reaching out to me, and thank you for being here. And thank you all of you guys that are in the chat room today. Love you all.
Very good. Thank you so much again. And I will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to us here on the Untold Radio Network. Make sure you listen to all the other shows as well. There's, I think, 11 or 12 of us now. We got another one coming soon, I think. So there's so much Bigfoot and cryptid and stuff on our network. And again, guys, check out our stuff, wisconsincaps.com, for everything that I do with paranormal and Bigfoot and YouTube and all that stuff. Coming up next week, guys, we have Susan Laughlin Perez is going to be on the show. She is the head of the CMO Bigfoot Research Organization, and she is going to be talking all about Bigfoot in southern Missouri. So, guys, until then, I'm your host, Barnaby, and I'll see you on the edge.